All right, welcome to the electrifying Cinestro Core. I'm your host, Blacksby, aka Magnegro, joined by our dynamic squad with Make Mutants Great Again. Yes, that's MMGA, CEO of Cyclops Glazing, Homo Superior, aka Glock Summers, and Shit Invincible. Number one, Jason, I'm not even going to try and say his last name, Hater. Mantazukis.
Hater. If you can't tell, we're talking about XMen 97 and Invincible Part 2, Season 2.
Yes, Today we're diving into
Invincible with ads.
We're diving into X-Men 97 on Disney Plus and the thrilling return of Invincible Season 2,
Jesus Christ.
Part 3, 4, 7, or whatever the hell it is.
You're in the pocket of Big Disney.
No, not me. I'm in the pocket of the people. I'm Magnegro, brother. Let's stand up. Right. Anyways,
until your best friend / lover dies, and then you decide to turn your back on all your ideals and just completely do a character 180.
That is canon.
That's called character development, bro.
It's called headcanon, baby. They're lovers in my eyes. Lovers in my book.
Combination of my two favorite things. Head and canon.
Our audio and visual listeners / viewers, we are talking about X-Men 97. The season premiere just dropped, and we can't even call it X-Men 97. This is Peak Man Goldie 7. This right here is solid. Okay. This right here is why I live
that was
for.
A reach.
Don't let this man cook, bro. What the fuck?
Let me have this. I have some joy in my life.
Microwave.
I was just reminded about Madam Web and the fact that we got a Ghostbusters number 5 or whatever the fuck coming out, and then we've got Godzilla vs. It's number 3 technically. No, 4. Yeah, it's number 4. And then Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm like, we're in that weird spot in the year where things are kind of like, how do we go from Dune to that? But X-Men
February is a fluke, right? Because Dune was a fluke because usually Dumpuary, January, February is where they dump. Kind of like the garbage movie. They're just like, let's get this bullshit out of the way. We need padding to fill. There's weeks and weeks on end where nothing good is coming out. So we'll just fucking put these movies out and hope they make $30 million and call it a day. But so
in January,
that's the thing about the diversification kind of media companies, right? Is that like we have name a good movie besides Dune and The Beekeeper, which we enjoyed that have come out in the past couple of months.
We've seen like
Rebel Moon.
It meant in theaters, but that's the thing. It hasn't been much. So here's what's good about like all these companies. One of the very few things about companies having streaming services is that they can then release shit like X-Men 97, Bad Batch, The Acolyte, kind of streaming services when their movies aren't really hitting. So I don't know. That you're right. We do find ourselves in that weird kind of place in the year where a lot of garbage is being released.
Bro's in the pocket of big streaming.
Disney done came and gave us a hot one, bro. They gave us a hot one. No wings. They gave us a hot one for real. We got X-Men 97, basically a continuation of the 90s X-Men cartoon.
Animated series,
the classic, the elegant, the elite. Saturday morning, I wake up. I'm not cleaning the house. I'm watching this cartoon. That's what we got going on, and it just really brought back my youth. My youth growing up in the big city, H-Town, watching the X-Men on the telly. So let's talk about these first 2 episodes. How are we feeling? What's our status? What's the room temperature?
Who wants to go first?
Hard as a rock. Is how I'm feeling.
That's right.
My shit hitting my desk right now.
I thought.
Oh my god.
I think for the most part, it's overwhelmingly positive, right? I think you have nerds like AZ who are going to find some bullshit about how some comic inaccuracies and then complain about it.
Yeah,
but for the most part, I think
people who don't understand adaptation.
I have no media literacy. I'm sorry.
He's just like me.
I'm autistic. My bad.
I'm just like me again.
I'm sorry. I got the tism.
But it's like for the most part, I feel really good about it. We'll talk in detail about like what we like about it and stuff. But yes, I think it's a very good 2-episode premiere.
I think as far
go ahead.
As far as like a lot of shows go with like 2 episode drops, especially with Disney, it's a real mixed bag because usually if the first 2 episodes start off as strong as they do, getting you hooked, it takes kind of a nosedive. How many episodes did they say they were doing this season?
I think it's like
that is a great
that's a
question.
good question. We were just so hyped. We didn't even know. We just jumped into that.
Because usually what I've noticed with Disney is when they do the 6 episode series, save for like Loki, right? It turns out
10.
Not very good. Near like from like episode 4 to 6, it gets really rushed for like no reason. And as much as 10 episodes,
that's what I said.
I feel like 10 to 12.
I didn't hear you. My bad.
I feel like you could get for a good 10 to 12 is usually a pretty good sweet spot, like a litmus test for me to figure out whether or not a show has enough time to tell the story it's going to. I'd say as far as first 2 episodes go, genuinely, it did a good job of establishing the characters, getting you to understand who the X-Men are. I have all the comic book knowledge of like years worth of reading X-Men and like different Chris Claremont iterations, which inspired the animated series. So I had already, like the prior knowledge of who these people are, what they're about, right? So I felt like even with that still, though, it did a good balance of introducing it to newer people, but also at the same time not rehashing it and beating you over the head if you already know everything. It felt like replaying a game I've actually enjoyed, and I didn't mind going through the tutorial. It was good in that aspect. But I'll get to my gripes later.
I'm in that aspect.
I have gripes. I got a couple.
This is gonna be some dumb shit.
How about you, man?
It is.
I got certified Magneto Glazer, Omega level Magneto Glazer, Prime X-Men propagandist. I'm here for this. Let's start. That's very obvious. I love the X-Men, one of my favorite hero teams out of all the hero teams, and I love a lot of comic books. I'm here. I'm in that. Seeing this brought back on screens, it's making me so excited for the future of the X-Men in the MCU. Seeing how they,
I feel differently.
Attach this story and try and bring the MCU, the X-Men into the MCU the right way, the way that we need to see. Because if they do some bullshit, it's over, bro. That's so over.
This is why I say I feel differently, because I feel like, let's say the first 2 seasons of X-Men 97 are great, and we're like, this is amazing. X-Men are back. The animation is great. The storytelling is fantastic. When they introduce the X-Men in live action, I promise you, it is not going to be the exact same because we've already have established relationship with the characters from the X-Men 97 series, because it is a continuation of the 90s animated series. So we're familiar with these characters. We're familiar with their relationships with one another. We're familiar with these stories. So it's just like jumping back into something that we've missed, that we've been a part of for years. When they introduce the live action X-Men, we're gonna be bitching about the casting. We're gonna be bitching about when they decide to introduce them. We're gonna be bitching about when they tease them, when they don't. We're gonna be bitching about the stories they decide to tell. So I am not looking forward to, and we're constantly gonna be comparing whatever they do in live with the live action X-Men to whatever we see with the animated X-Men verse.
Plus whatever we saw with the Foxmen movies too, because we're going to be comparing the crap out of that.
So I'm not looking forward to it, but I'm just kind of enjoying this for what it is. For right now, I'm living in the present, and just kind of trying to enjoy
right
it
now.
because
he said just live life.
Just live life, bro. Touch some grass.
One day at a time.
One day at a time, exactly. But
let's talk about the storyline here. AZ is our resident comic encyclopedia, our comic
expert.
Expert,
get it? Expert. No, okay. I'll leave. I'm sorry. I apologize. I deserve that.
Chat, what we thinking? Boot him.
But you're saying, Matt?
Yes, as AZ's our resident comic expert, our encyclopedia of comic knowledge, and he has some insight as far as what storyline we're going with here with X-Men 97. Of course, you see all the classic characters are back. Tell us what we got going on with that storyline. Give us some backstory.
Okay, So this is going to be significant spoilers for the X-Men 97 series. So if you clicked on this episode after reading the title and seeing the thumbnail, go fuck yourself. But
that's right. Go fuck yourself.
So from what I've been able to gather, it seems like they're doing a little bit of the whole Project Wide Awake because they're involving a lot of like the the Ministry of Superhuman Affairs.
Yep.
Right. I forget her name. But the lady that's like their liaison to the UN.
Yeah. Cooper.
Yeah. So yeah. Cooper. So Cooper is usually like their liaison to the UN, essentially, kind of overseeing mutants and making sure that, they're like taken care of and at least have some sort of representation on the, grand government level, because governments around the world are fearful of mutants to a degree. And one of the big significant things I remember that she does is during the House of M events, when Scarlet Witch wipes out like the mutant population and like the mutants are essentially quarantined because there's only like 100-something mutants left post House of M because all the other ones had their powers taken away. Cooper is the one. I think her name is Melanie, right? Melanie Cooper. Sounds right. Cooper. Mallory Cooper. Yeah. So
Valerie with a V.
Valerie. Sorry, I misheard. So Valerie essentially gets them over like a reservation. It's not so much as a reservation. It's more like house arrest, basically. They're inside the Xavier Institute and they have like these walls and they're only allowed to leave, but they have the option of if they want to leave, they have to get shipped. Otherwise they, aren't tracked. So there's a whole lot of like different things with like mutant oversight. I do think that it's interesting that they immediately opened up the last will of testament of Charles Xavier and then fed into the trial of Magneto, because those are usually two different lines. Usually the trial of Magneto goes down and Magneto, seeks redemption for like his Magneto-ness, right? Going out and basically being a terrorist in the name
because he's real.
Whoa, terrorist is a term.
He's more of a freedom fighter.
Is a term given to him by the American fascist government.
Exactly. A liberator.
By the Western powers that be.
Yeah.
Forgive me. I've been watching a lot of 616 Fox News. Forgive me.
Oh God.
But
616 Fox News.
But our favorite freedom fighter, Magneto, basically he goes under trial. He does that whole redemption thing and he leads the X-Men for a while. But it's also weird because the last will and testament of Charles Xavier has to deal with this one mutant. I believe his name is it's Matthew Malloy. He's written in a story. Yeah. Matthew Malloy, I like his story. It just sucks because of the way they end it. So basically, he's a mutant. He's a mutant that one day, while Xavier is scanning through Cerebro to find different mutant signatures, he finds out that this is the strongest signature he's ever seen. This is a beyond Omega level threat. So he goes and he finds this kid named Clyde who is passively altering reality and he doesn't even know. He's just completely altering reality and he does not know at all. So what he does is he makes a small mental projection of a little boy. And he grows up with him as his friend, and with his permission, with Matthew's permission, he puts in mental blocks. And eventually, when Xavier dies, those mental blocks go out, and Matthew's powers start going fucking haywire. S.H.I.E.L.D. gets called in, he wipes them. The X-Men get called in, he wipes a good chunk of them, tries to bring them back, but doesn't know how to really control his power. So they die, and then he just starts booming like half the Institute. And then they undo his fucking life in the dumbest way possible. They literally get a mutant whose power it is to time travel, go back in time. Professor X sends a mental projection into his parents' minds when they're in college, telling them not to fuck each other, and they just pass by, and he's just wiped from existence. Like the story just, it's a story that doesn't need to happen.
But I think,
real quick, you know what you just described?
What's up?
While you were talking about this, I was given flashbacks to a 2007 X-Men movie from Bryan Singer, X-Men: The Last Stand.
Who?
Because that was exactly how Jean Grey's story was during that film. The mental blocks, erasing the other X-Men, Charles Xavier dying, all that stuff was happening. I was like, bro, come on.
I like Matthew.
I didn't even realize. It didn't even click until just now. Thank you for opening.
What I was going to say, though, is that I think that introducing kind of like the last will and testament Charles Xavier, like so early on in the series, I think is actually and the trial of Magneto is a testament to how good the writing is, because these are only 30-minute episodes, right? But they go by so quickly, and they feel like they're full of information and exposition, but it's done well in character development, and we're building on these relationships, and it's all done so well in a 30-minute time frame that it works. And it's like people who aren't familiar with Matthew Malloy and aren't familiar with the comics and aren't familiar with Claremont's run, like they're just like, okay, that makes sense. Like if you're watching this for the first time, you're just like, oh, he died, he left a will, and Magneto's like, I love this man so much, I'm gonna follow through. And it's like, and that ties in perfectly to his trial, which then tests his resolve and whether he's going to actually commit to Xavier's plan for a coexistence amongst humans, coexistence or not. And I think that that's handled so beautifully, and I think that that's what good, when left in the hands of fans of the comics and fans of the lore, right? That you can adapt good stories because you know exactly what to pick and choose. Because what DeMayo did was he's like, oh, the Will and Testament's important. Magneto's turn is important, and the test for his resolve is important as well. And then we'll add some drama. We'll add Storm losing her powers, and it's like these are the little benchmarks that we're putting that'll tie the whole season together, and then we'll just write around that. And I think that because X-Men lore specifically can get so expansive and it's so vast,
it is ridiculous.
Claremont's run itself, it spans like 16 years, so. You know, it's like
it's pretty landmark. That one, Morrison's run. Well, okay, this is the thing. Morrison is the reason why we have in the films those like all black X-Men suits with like the faint outline, a little bit of a spin that was later integrated into Ultimate. I like Grant Morrison's run. Some people don't like it. I think it's fucking great, but then again, I'm sheeple for Grant Morrison. That man could literally write like a short story on a napkin, and I would praise for a Pulitzer. Like I'm a simple man. But so to the point you were saying, Luis, I do think that I do find it very interesting how they have taken different story beats, like not even like beats, really, just small aspects of other storylines and sprinkled them to make something that's not necessarily wholly original, but entirely new, right? For this newer generation getting into the whole X-Men 97, because we grew up with the whole Marvel animated universe of Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Iron Man, and all of them intersecting repeatedly, right? So we have that background knowledge, but it's really well introduced for new users. But I also do think, to a certain degree, I am worried about it being rushed because there's a few minor characterizations I'm not a fan of. Like you know the term fridging, right? In comics, where they'll just like essentially, for the sake of the plot, kill somebody off or like just get them out of the way because they can solve the whole and they'll usually have it to where they'll do that to like an OP character. Like for instance, Professor X in every single one of the X-Men movies gets sidelined. Why? Because he could solve it in 5 minutes, right? And that's how I felt with Storm. Because the moment I saw Storm leap in front of that blast, I was like, "Bro, fucking care, don't you
see?" But I think that was actually a good choice. Why? Because I think that little moment and kind of the what they had her do throughout before that moment in the episode really it showed you the kind of person that she was. She was like, we need to honor Charles's wishes, whether we like it or not, right? He did this for a reason, and I'm going to stand by him through and through. So her jumping in front of Magneto, despite what Scott was saying, despite what all the other X-Men were saying and thinking, was I think just showed, not only, like you said, did it fridge her, right, and kind of sidelined her for the time being because she's Omega level, but it also served. But it also served for character development to kind of show us just kind of how how committed to Xavier's cause she is, and just how selfless she is as a character. So I thought it worked.
That's definitely a signature part of Storm in the comics. She's more like the mom of the X-Men. Like it's kind of a role share between her and Jean Grey, but she's more like the maternal figure, right? Like she's the one who's mostly imparting wisdom, like specifically to she's kind of like an adoptive mother to Kitty Pryde, the Shadowcat.
Yeah.
Right. and a lot of the other younger X-Men look up to her. But the thing that I had an issue with was not necessarily her being shot or being fridged. I didn't have an issue with that. I did have a little bit of an issue when she was having this whole conundrum about like being human, right? Because part of Storm's character is that she grew up on the mean streets of fucking Egypt, basically as a pickpocket, right? And then through being shunned and living at like the bottom of the gutter, and has made her way up to the top, right? Of being like a figurehead for the mutant rights movement, right? A literal god. Like there's a point where she marries Black Panther in the comics, and she's literally playing as a fucking rain.
She marries African American Panther. Please
get it right.
Sorry, African American. Sorry.
So
no, person of color Panther. Say it right.
But
BIPOC Panther.
She's a person, but she always is a person who is never stuck up and prideful, but she always has that level of being secure and who she is. And I felt like it was wildly out of character for her to have that moment with Jean where she's like, oh my God, I gotta be human. Oh, well, I thought about what it's like.
I don't think it came off like that at all. It came off as her being like, wow, I know nothing else. You know, this is all I've been for so long. And these have been some of the greatest years of my life. Some of the greatest, she says it in her note, memories that'll last a lifetime that feel like forever ago as is. And now I have to let that all go and be human. I don't know what that's like. And I have to leave you guys behind. I have to leave this life behind. And that's hard for me because it's not, I didn't take it as her being like, I have to be human.
I understand. I understand. I didn't view it as like whiny. I just felt it was a little bit out of character because there's literally a panel of Storm where she's asked if you've thought about being human. She's like, no, not even once. I would not. I don't care. Regardless of human or not, I'm still fucking me. Why are you asking that dumbass question?
We have adaptation.
And I felt like that was,
hence adaptation. Yes, exactly.
There's a certain like when you adapt something from a source material, right? You can take liberties with it. I am all for liberties, but there are just some integral character traits that I feel.
But here's the thing. AZ, when people adapt something, it's like the writer and creator DeMayo. His I forget his first name, so I'm just calling him by his last name, DeMayo. OnlyFans DeMayo. Yeah. When his OnlyFans DeMayo was crazy. When his relationship to these characters growing up is different from your relationship to these characters, right? Guess what? Guess who's writing and creating the show? Him. He did. So he's gonna instill in these characters what he took from them as a kid growing up, right? He's gonna instill aspects of the characters that stay true to the comics, like Scott being a fucking badass and the leader of this group and this team, right? While also trying to instill nuance where he finds it interesting and play with ideas that he personally thinks interesting. So in his head, Storm being like struggling with going back to be, struggling with becoming a regular human being. And, he's like, although that might not be true and real to the comics because, that panel said that she's never thought about it. She's to her or whatever, she's secure in herself. He maybe thought it was more interesting from a narrative perspective, probably because he only has 10 episodes to tell a story as opposed to, however long a comic book run is. And so, it's gonna be like that.
What's this
so just prepare
name?
yourself. DeMayo.
I think DeMayo hates black women and hates Storm.
Why did he get fired from the show though? That's what I'm interested
in.
Because
Disney CEO, they found his OnlyFans, I think.
Allegedly.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. And they're saying
that's real.
Yeah, Disney's like a family whatever, like
because he's cool as fuck.
Company. Yeah. It's stupid.
They thought gay people were cool only 2 years ago. What are they fucking talking about?
Yeah, gay people. They didn't say sex workers were cool.
It's illegal to have a fat cock and put it on OnlyFans.
Yeah. God forbid a motherfucker.
God forbid boys hanging a hog in that bitch.
Like, there was literally a writer's strike for 8 months, bro. To make
exactly, dude. Jesus. What the fuck? God forbid, it's hard as fuck to make ends meet as an artist nowadays. That you gotta, you have the right and to start an OnlyFans and you get fired for it. It's ridiculous.
I thought he did something fucked up. That's not fucked up at all. I'm not disappointed more so.
He's just being real.
Brad Pitt literally abused his wife and kids, and he's still working.
Josh Brolin beat the shit out of his wife, and he was on SNL last
Josh
week.
Brolin beat the fuck out of his wife.
No, it happened.
Oh, it's conviction.
It happened.
Yeah.
That shit
Not
happened.
even-
I'm not
not
sure he
even
was
that.
convicted. I think he may have settled or something. But
In 1994,
Settlement.
Mark Wahlberg
Allegations.
of the Funky Bunch beat an Asian man with a brick, and it still works.
while
So I'm just saying,
while
the bar has never been
while
lower.
throwing racial epithets,
While
at
calling him slur in an act of a hate crime. So I
Yeah.
mean, OnlyFans is a fucking low bar.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
Yeah.
so
Did
stupid.
you know? Did you
'Cause-
guys know Mark Wahlberg hates crimes?
Look
Go
up
ahead
Mark
and
Wahlberg
Google Mark
hate
Wahlberg
crimes.
hate crimes.
You've made that joke 4 times, man.
And I'm gonna make it a fifth.
And it always hits.
Just like
It
I
always
made those
hits.
Transformers movies. I'm gonna make 5 of them shits.
But yeah, but I think
yeah.
Overall,
I think overall, yeah, I'm very excited. I like it. I like the animation. I know AZ had a problem with that as well. I think
No, the
it
animation looks
great.
fucking
I think it looks
incredible.
good.
Bitch, watch.
So
Watch.
good.
No. Before you even talk, you know what else we're talking about? What looks better? Fuck you.
I think I don't
Look,
know. And maybe it's because I'm comparing. And I don't watch cartoons because I'm a grown ass man.
Yeah.
So maybe
allegedly.
my
you.
experience
watch your
watching
animes or whatever
baby
the fuck.
shows, animes.
You fucking cocoa melons.
So maybe I'm not very well versed.
Shout out Coco Melon.
in animation.
Shout out
but
Blue's Clues.
but comparing it to
Bluey.
our other topic of discussion today, Invincible looks flat and uninteresting.
Look.
There's no shading. There's no stylistic
Sorry, Robert Kirkman.
choices. And
I
fuck
will
you,
say
Robert Kirkman. There's no. It's ugly as fuck. We're
They
in
destroyed Ryan
X-Men 97,
Otley's
First off-
beautiful
and we
fucking
shit on
vision.
What If, so it's not like we're Disney
First off,
dick
look,
writers because I don't
not-
like the animation in What If. It looks like ass. But X-Men
not
97
too much on my
was great.
goat Kirkman, but
Oh, my
also I
goat.
want to say this. I want to at least say this. I don't hate the animation of X-Men 97. I don't hate it at all.
Okay.
It's
Mhm.
amazing in action sequences like this. I am a proud person who knows that Cyclops is cool, but watching this, it proved to me
when
what
he
I already fucking
landed,
knew.
bro, when he
The
said,
way that this man was fighting with his visor is some of the most creative combat. Like,
Yeah.
I will say this is the combat in the show, like every action sequence and the way that they use their powers is the best translated in a motion media I have
Mhm.
seen. The X-Men movies, dog shit. The X-Men 97 show, they did pretty good, but they were limited by the technology of the time for animation. There's a point, though, where Storm glasses with lightning an entire desert, like strikes it with lightning, makes it in glass, and then
Hard.
makes a tornado, and then has all of those glass shards sweep up a horde of Sentinels and shred them. That is, I did not think of that. And then when
Gambit
they-
imbuing Wolverine's claws with
With
his
the-
kinetic
Okay,
energy.
that was my favorite thing. That was my favorite thing. So weeks before this came out, right? I was
The
I was
teamwork.
cruising through comic book threads on Reddit,
Uh-huh.
right? And there's a signature move the X-Men have called the fastball special, where basically
Mhm.
anybody who's
They
really
throw
heavy
it.
and big throws
They
Wolverine.
throw 'em.
Typically, it's Wolverine and Colossus, right? And he just throws him and he stabs whatever, right?
Didn't they do that in the
And so
movies?
when they
They
were,
did.
yeah,
In
yeah,
the
yeah.
Last
Colossus,
Stand,
yeah.
right?
in the danger room.
I love that part.
And there's-
It's
I'm
that-
telling you,
it's-
this is X-Men: The Last Stand, but more gooder.
and then when
Almost
but
impossible.
when they
Yeah.
when they dropped
Great
the trailer,
movie.
right, and they showed that move, like that Gambit spin on the fastball special,
Yeah.
people were trying to figure out what to name it, and I'm not gonna lie, the name that they got was 3 of a Kind, and I was like, that's a good
That's
fucking
great.
move.
That's
That's
hard.
really good.
Good
That's
fucking
hard.
name.
Well,
They're
no, Wolverine names drops it. He's like running, and then he says morph,
He said belly up. I was
belly
like,
up.
yo,
I think that's the name of it. is
They're
belly
throwing
up.
combos. I was like, they're throwing combos in this hole.
Yeah, he said
Belly Up
more
would be
belly up.
Belly Up. Yeah, Belly Up is more so like the launch aspect of it, right?
Oh, we
That
mean
would just
that
transform you in a
imbuing
block
his
and give him
claws
that
would be
boost,
3 of a
right?
claw,
But
3
the
of a
imbue
kind.
it, that's 3 of a kind. Yeah, that's
That's
3 of a
good.
kind. That's
That
why I
is
was
a
like,
good-
oh, that's nice. That's
Yeah.
a nice
It's
name.
a poker
So the action
reference.
in
He's
it-
got 3
Cinema
Yeah.
claws.
back. Cinema
Yeah,
so back.
and like but like I was saying, the action in it is animated beautifully. I love it. The way that they use their powers, amazing. The way that they display like the force field effects and Rogue's powers, right? I find
voice
all
They,
of
they
that
don't look
amazing.
like Terrence and
Right?
Philip from fucking South Park, like Invincible does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the thing, right? During the action, it's great, but when people are just standing there and kind of just like normal motions or like really minimal movement, it gets to a point where I'm like, am I
No,
lagging?
no,
What is
no.
happening?
Go rewatch fucking
The frame
Invincible,
racing is
motherfucker.
weird.
That's where it's bad.
No.
That's where it's
I am
bad.
not defending Invincible. I am bro, you have to realize I've read every issue of Invincible 8 times. I am a hardcore Invincible fan, but still, I will say
sorry,
that
Hayao
the show is
Miyazaki's
better
not
than
directing
Invincible.
X-Men 97, bro. My bad, dude.
You're
I
an
know, Mappa's not
Invincibleite?
animating it. I know, but at certain points the animation does drop. But all in all, I think
Nah, I
it
think it
is
looks
an
great.
excellent start. I am invested. I'm interested to see where these versions of the characters go and see how they act according to what I know. I may not like all of it, but at the end of the day, I am still excited. So I give this premiere. I give it a solid 8. Actually, no, that Madeline Pryor reveal at the end gave it to a 9. It's a 9. It's a 9. I'd say it's a 9 out of 10. It's
Oh,
solid.
you're gonna talk about the Madeline Pryor review and kind of what this might. Just keep it quick, but just like what this might lead to, what the season might be.
So basically, there is a villain in the comics. His name is Mr. Sinister. He's a geneticist, basically, and he's really obsessed with mutant genetics. And so in the comics, what he does is he figures out that if Cyclops and Jean Grey got together with both of their abilities, that they would create a child who is a beyond Omega level mutant, and he wants to be able to capture that power.
And he's not. Cable's a flop.
Yeah, and he's either wanting to
Cable, more like K bullshit.
That power, or find some way to integrate it into his experiments, right? And so when he realized that he would not be able to wait for Jean and Scott to bump uglies because they constantly are in a stupid love triangle, he was like, "Fuck it, I'll do it myself." So around the time after, I think it's a little bit. If I'm remembering correctly, it's after Phoenix Saga. They think Jean Grey's dead. She's brought back to life, apparently, but it looks like in the show they're more so going for to where Jean was just missing somewhere. But basically, Sinister clones Jean, and the son that they have is supposed to be is Cable, right? But the actual son, but the only reason why Cable isn't the OP person that he is because of the techno-organic virus, and he has to constantly keep that at bay with his psychic energy. Granted, while with this affliction, he is still able to pull spaceships out of the sky with his fucking mind, but like he's significantly debuffed. But then there's an alternate version of him named Nate Gray, who's just called X-Man, and Nate Gray is fucking busted.
Nate Gray, bro,
he has
so
it.
hard,
That's
dude.
it. He fucks.
Yeah.
He's basically Jesus. Like he literally is in a robe. He has brown hair and a beard. Like he's Jesus.
Nate Gray. You mean Marvel Lisan Al Gaib?
There you go. But yeah, so like we're saying, it seems like they're adapting kind of like a lot of storylines. They're kind of taking bits and pieces of the comic runs that they like, and kind of incorporating it into this season. And so that's really exciting. I'm excited to see what comes of it. I think the voice acting is amazing. Everyone is in their motherfucking bag. Writing's great, directing is great. It looks beautiful.
It doesn't sound like a bunch of stupid fucking D-list celebrities just doing their own fucking voice the whole goddamn time. Fuck Invincible.
I'm pretty sure they got the original VAs back, right? From the It sounds a lot like them. They got the Wolverine voice actor back.
They
which
did.
I was very happy
they
about,
did
because next to Steve Bloom, he is my favorite.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Next to Steve Bloom, he's like tied. I love them both.
I'll give this series premiere a 9 as well. Just because I was fucking locked.
Solid
in.
9.
It was amazing.
Gerardo, what you got? What's your rating?
I'll give it a 9.5, man. I fuck with it. I love Magneto. My favorite X-Men character. I still remember y'all stole him from me in the draft. Fuck you.
I think it was Matt.
It was Matt. Yeah.
Magneto supremacy.
I know it won't happen, but I need to see him killing those fucking hillbillies for killing that girl. I need it. I need it. Fuck.
That's from God Loves Man Kills, right?
Yeah, that's from God Loves Man Kills.
He makes the nail out of his blood, and then he just hammers the nail. It's so good.
Respect to my goat. Respect to my.
When I knew it wasn't gonna happen.
Oh god.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't gonna happen, but when I saw him drag those motherfuckers up to the sky, I'm like, he could, he should, but he won't. And I was like, okay, I fuck with this.
They won't let him do it, bro. He's swag too real.
I do think
he smoked too tough, bro.
You know how
Eric.
You know how the original X-Men animated series was linked to like all the other Marvel shit, right? Like the Marvel animated universe. Yeah, because they crossed over Spider-Man and all that, right?
Spider-Man. Yeah.
There's a newspaper that floats by after the opening action sequence. That's from the Daily Bugle, and it says, "Is Spider-Man a mutant?" I don't know if that's a nod, but I don't think they're going to do anything with that. I feel like they're not going to do anything.
They're not going to have
Sony let them
Spider-Man in the show.
I figured.
Well, this takes place in 97, but they don't have an animated Spider-Man show.
I just wanted to,
but not in the MCU.
Yeah.
Oh, not yet.
Yeah.
Well, they're working on it.
Let me handle it. I'll take care of it.
I think it was just a nod, like you said. It might have just been a nod to.
Okay. I just wanted to.
MCU's rotting this man's brain. He's already thinking of connections.
The Easter egg. No, they put it there for a reason.
It's coming. Does he know?
Matt, what do you give it out of 10?
I guess I'm right there at the top with y'all at like a 8.5 or a 9. Really, the only reason I'm like not teetering towards a 9 is I want to give it some room for like to really.
We're judging just the premiere. We're just judging the premiere. The first 2 episodes.
We got it at 9, bro. This is a solid 9 out of all the premieres we've seen on the MCU shows or Marvel shows in general.
Especially recently.
This one, this one went.
It is not a
hard. This one went crazy in ways that I cannot even explain to you in the English language. I have to speak another language. They are so good.
Just hearing Omega level threat uttered in this, like
that made you know how like
man.
It changed the brain chemistry. I felt like I drank the blue worm juice.
God, it's over. It already came out, man.
It changed my brain chemistry. It opened my vision.
Dune is not a personality, bro.
We'll make you one. Fuck you. Keep watching your cartoons, bitch.
That's how you know. That's how you know. Hey, Gerardo. That's how you know he's not Fedaykin, bro. Get him out of here.
He's not real.
You're not real for me. You're not writing.
You know what, Matt? You know what, Matt? I don't understand a single thing you've said. But you know what? You know what I understand. You know what I understand?
Cartoons.
I understand that animation is an art that takes a really long time. But you know what shouldn't take a long time? The animation that they've done in Invincible. Let's talk about it. I have questions.
He got there eventually. He
was long-winded. It wasn't funny, but he got there.
He got there. That's what matters.
Don't you dare Spartacus thumbs down me. I deserve at least a middle.
That was it was there.
It was too long, but it was
two
good.
Thumbs. But we're talking about the Invincible premiere. There's another episode airing in approximately 3 or 4 hours.
Before we go on to Invincible really quick, I just want to say how
gay mute him
about X-Men, but something that's really that'll always be true about X-Men is just about how pertinent that story is as an allegory to what's happening in real life. They were invented in the 60s. It worked then. When the animated show came out in the 90s, it worked then. When the comics were existing in the 70s and 80s, it worked then. And hearing Magneto do his speech about how the oppressed become the oppressors, and differing and othering people because of their skin and their gender, and it just, dude, it's like the X-Men
writers always are.
I know. It's just when you're working in that world of X-Men,
Magneto I've seen outside of Hickman. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's always gonna hit and it's always gonna resonate. And it hit me when I was sitting. I was like, "Fuck, this is so good."
When he's
like not to be lame. This is powerful. It's like
it was powerful. No. Yeah, it had a profound effect. I was like floating off my seat. Bro.
Yeah, you're like, this is so good.
When I first saw Magneto show up in the Trial of Magneto fit, and he's about to read his like the will of Xavier, I was like, oh my god, this nigga look like Granny Goodness. I'm gonna hate this. I'm gonna hate this so much.
You look like Jesus.
And then when he got to the UN and where he has his foot hovering over the dude, and he's like, there was a time where I would crush an ant like you beneath my feet. I said, He said there was a time. He said bigot, and I was like,
I said, let's go.
I was like, let's go.
I was over there like this. Well done. Clap vigorously. Yes.
The thing that he said about prior to that, when the executioner came in to cause chaos, he was definitely there during January 6th. He came
all those
causing that shit. The Friends of Humanity, aka
Humanity,
Proud Boys.
Proud Boys.
Bros, them boys came in there and like he said he was saying something to Cyclops, and I was like, this is scarily similar to the rhetoric we've seen from the white supremacists on Twitter and all right. I'm like, this is. I was like, this is how you know whoever's writing this is keeping up with what's going on and finding ways to inject it.
It's basically the great replacement theory, is what
that's exactly what they're saying.
That's what Luis was talking about with
Oliver Trask had mentioned something about being replaced and being left behind by evolution and
timely is the name of the game for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, skill issue.
That's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it is a skill issue. Get better. Like Predator, like the movie Predator told us, autism is the next step of evolution.
I truly believe that.
I got the mutant X gene,
the greatest threat the world's ever known.
But anyway, I just wanted to say
we're already at the top of the list, bro.
And that's what I'm saying. Like when you're working with the XMen, and you're just cooking with grease, because no matter the time, there will always be oppression, there will always be discrimination, there will always be othering. And so when you tell powerful stories like this, it's always going to resonate with people who are being marginalized and people who are being oppressed and people who are being othered. And so it's just a like to commend like just the beauty and the power of art and what it can do and how it can change and impact lives and culture, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But they'll just call it woke and say the X-Men are woke now, and
as if they haven't always been.
They've always been. We can agree. I guess we can all agree. We can all agree that this is a return to form for Marvel in the sense of animation and in the sense of just good storytelling. Let's talk about another return that may not have been to form with Invincible season 2 coming back. I do this.
Oh, it was a return to form, all right.
It was a return to some dog shit.
Some dog shit. You can have bad.
Return to some dog shit.
Okay.
We had the season 2 mid-season premiere. I guess that's what you would call it. And it's definitely mid. It's definitely mid. It's definitely mid.
It's a mid-season for it.
Yeah.
I was not excited. I texted y'all for those of y'all who are not aware of our lore by now. Sometimes we plan these episodes out well in advance. Sometimes shit drops and we decide to do last minute. Today was one of those last minute days because X-Men 97 came out. Invincible happened to drop, and I was like, man, look, talk about shit. We're gonna have to do both. We said the great idea. We're talking about both. So I was like, I'm gonna watch Invincible season 2, episode 5, and try and understand what's going on with Mark. What the hell is happening on Braxton or whatever the fuck? And then I just didn't because I wasn't feeling it. I watched the smoke was too good from X-Men. The swag was too different. I said I can't do this. So sorry if I'm missing some points in the Invincible side. Everyone else is gonna cook. I will watch it. By the time this episode posts, I'll have watched Invincible and I'll maybe change my opinion.
You won't.
I'll go.
It'll get worse. You won't. It'll get worse.
I got the
who wants to start?
Let me start since
I'll let y'all go.
I'm the only one with a positive outlook on this.
All right, Luis, go ahead.
There are many things I dislike about Invincible. I think the voice acting is bland. I think the animation is boring and uninspired. I think the storytelling is rushed and just it's incomprehensible, and I know I haven't read the entirety of the series, but I know that they're just like going like at a fucking ultrasonic pace and just kind of jumping so far in advance.
They're kind of blitzing that shit. I can't hold.
Kind of jumping, just jumping ahead like a motherfucker.
He's gonna get the blue suit in like 3 episodes.
Damn, bitch, what do you like?
Yes.
That being said, I do think that the story that they are like like once you lock in and like 20 minutes in, you're just like letting things like pan out. You're just like, damn, dude, these characters are good and I do care about them, and like their relationships with one another are interesting, and like because I was sitting there and Mark's inability, like him getting a letter from the dean and missing 2 months of class and having to go talk to the dean, but then Walton Goggins comes. He's like, hey, we need you again, and we need you in space, and all this. Like that made me feel really anxious, and I was like, fuck, like I can't imagine being in Mark's place. So, like from a character perspective, I can relate, and I get it, and I like it.
He's not a real immigrant child.
And at the end of the episode, some shit happened. Some characters died, and I was like, oh, I did not expect that. That was very interesting. Kind of the twist that happened. Well, yeah, I know you read the comic. It was like the twist that happens and the turns it takes. I was like, oh, this is pretty interesting. I just wish every other aspect of the production was
match that.
What matched basic like this? I think the writing is really good, is what I'm
So
saying.
let me correct you.
Everything else
You think
lacks.
the blueprint is good? That's because the comic is good. Everything else that they're doing, they're fucking up, and that's the problem.
Genuinely. You took the words right out of my mouth, Arnaldo. That is the exact same thing.
It's the issue.
Like,
That's
you're saying it's hard to fuck up
Yeah.
a Invincible adaptation because the comic is so good.
It's so good. You
Genuinely,
don't have to change much. I feel the changes they have made are good, but it's just like you said, the voice acting is ass. I recognize every fucking idiot that's on there. Rob Delaney, bitch ass. Jason Mantzoukas, fucking Sandra Oh, love her. Phoning that bitch in like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Walton Goggins, the only man who's trying. Fucking, we don't get a lot of J.K. Simmons because at this point he's gone. But like, it's ass, bro.
And it looks bad.
It looks bad.
The animation is boring.
It's crazy to me that in a medium where the characters don't fucking move, you only have static images. The fights are so much better
in the comics than
in the comics. When you don't see shit, you just see you see what's gonna happen. You see the aftermath. That's it, and it's still better than what we're getting in this. Fucking like AZ said in the group chat. PNG's moving around. Fucking Terrence and Philip ass animation.
Fuck it is.
It's horrible.
I swear to fuck it is. It's like okay. It's my time to shine, baby. It's my.
Please.
I'm planning on later this week dropping a video called "The Problem with Invincible" or "My Problem with Invincible," something like that. I don't know, but it's just a rant video about how I love this comic. I have devoted, I would say, close to months of my life to this comic, considering I've read 144 fucking issues this many times. But it's just that good, right? And I've loved Invincible since I was in high school, right? For like that's a good like 5 to 6 years.
Generational nerd.
Really knowing this character. I am a fucking OG. I wake up every day with a portrait of Robert Kirkman on my nightstand that I thank for another day of
months into some.
That's how fucking much I love this comic, and to see what they are doing with it in the show makes me just absolutely. It makes my blood fucking boil because it's like putting together IKEA furniture and looking at the picture. And then when you see what you've made, you're like, I know it's supposed to look like this.
But it's
I know this is what it's supposed to look like. I follow there's instructions here, clearly for someone to follow, but this is the end product. What the fuck went wrong? And
well, here's the thing. Robert Kirkman is a part of this. So it's not like
that's what I'm saying.
He's giving them the go ahead. He's signing off on this shit. I'm sure he's the executive producing. So, and I don't know how involved he is. But surely he's seen the scripts and seen the outlines for the seasons, and he's like, he knows what's going on.
That's what's baffling me. I think he's more so realizing that a lot of Invincible, like some of the best character work you get, is through filler arcs, right? Like there's an entire arc that's not in the first season where Mark faces his first supervillain in a sense. It's a teacher that is kidnapping students at his high school and attaching bomb vests to them, and they were essentially kids that were essentially invincible. That's his first. That he attaches bomb vests to them, like he welds a bomb vest to their skin. He turns them into bombs, essentially, right? And the way, and it's essentially Invincible finding out that being a hero isn't as cookie cutter as it is, because in spite of what he thinks of good guys and bad guys, it's not all cut and dry. There are reasons sometimes why bad guys do things. Like whenever he finds Titan in the first season, it's his introduction to that whole set of maybe bad guys aren't necessarily just bad for the sake of being bad, like power, corruption, and greed, right? Yeah, they are just evil. And I realized that if they included the arc with his teacher, right? Because his teacher, the reason why he's doing that to those kids is because those are kids who bullied his son, and his son committed suicide. So he was getting revenge.
Damn, that's good. That's so good.
And it's a really good. It's genuinely a really good first day out for a superhero, because you get a good depth into Mark's psyche, see how he deals with not being able to save everyone for the first time. And I understand those would have been a lot of beats that would be repeated later on in the narrative during what we've seen in the first season. I understand that. However, there are certain filler arcs that I wish, like certain character beats that I wish were more shown, right? Like there's a lot more stuff
between character arcs I wish were cut out, like Donald's boring ass being a robot.
No. See, that's the thing.
No,
that's the thing.
lame.
Donald's whole arc with being a robot, it's very fucking quick in the comic. He's like, oh shit, I'm a robot. All right, cool. And then he has a clipboard for a hand. Like he's just kind of fine with it.
Here's the thing.
He's
the thing that
they're milking it like a
the thing you're talking about Mark realizing kind of like the nuances of being a superhero.
Yeah.
That stuff is not only alluded to, but is expressly stated in the first season. Like when he's having that battle with all the aliens in the city, and he like rushes to save the old lady, and he like flies and he swoops by, picks her up, and she's like broken in half. He's like, "Oh, yeah, that's what have I done?" He's like, "I killed this lady and I tried helping her." And Adam and Eve is like, "That's life, Mark, and it happens."
That's what I'm saying.
So that shit it
would have been really had they showed it.
Yeah, and so I mean, I get what you're saying, and I don't know, maybe it has to do with the fact that you guys are so in love with the comics and invested in that character and that lore. They're just man,
really good.
I know, but and that's the thing. And here's another thing about adaptation: when you have a lore that is so rich and so vast as the one that is Invincible, you're gonna have to make cuts, right? Which are the correct ones to make and which aren't is entirely up to the creative's discretion. And that's when you get to the point where you guys are like, well, he should have kept this, he should have cut this isn't working, et cetera, et cetera. And so, I don't know. It's just, and it's hard to tell the Invincible story without it being 8, 19 seasons.
See, that's the thing.
Okay with that.
Amazon can do that.
I feel like
the best way they're doing this.
The best way for them, because what I'm not understanding,
you can't get Steven Yeun to commit to a voiceover role for 18 seasons.
Why not? He just got to go in a
fucking not real. He don't want to check.
It's also you got to think of it like this, bro. Right? When God, I lost my entire fucking train of thought. Give me one.
That's why you don't get Steven Yeun. All right, let's move on to voice actors. That's why you get regular fucking people. Not celebrities trying to get some fucking some prestige to this fucking show. It doesn't need it. It doesn't need it.
Now here's the thing with Invincible, right? It is such a rich narrative and such like a rich story that there is definitely a lot you have to shove into the narrative. I now remember my train of thought. I just had to breadcrumb it. All right, so this is the thing that kind of bugs me, right? The episodes will be 40 minutes to maybe like an hour.
Yeah.
Right. But you still will not necessarily feel like a lot has happened.
Yeah.
Right. So what I feel like they're trying to do too much is cram too much into what is still a very small amount of time and should reasonably be split into like 30 to 40 minute chunks each.
It's the opposite of the
more episodes. Opposite of XMen.
Yeah.
For so far. Right. It needs. I feel like Invincible is genuinely one of those shows that needs that 10 to 12 range because it cannot cram as much as it's cramming.
As 8.
Huh? No. It does like 4. It does like 4 to 6 each season.
No, it had more than 4.
The first season,
8. It was like 8 episodes.
Like 8 episodes.
Yeah.
First season,
like 8 episodes each.
Still too little. It's still low. Right. Still too little.
It's the Marvel formula with the 6 episodes. It's too fucking short.
It's about money, but that goes back to what Gerardo was saying, because if you didn't have to worry about paying Steven Yeun $1 million per episode and Sandra 1.2 million, J.K. Simmons $3 million per episode, you wouldn't have to worry about limiting the number of episodes. You could do 10 to 12 episodes. Pay an actual voice actor who can. I promise you,
fucking animators so your animation doesn't look like shit.
There you go. That was another point.
There's genuinely characters in this that I think are excellent with the voice actors they have now. Right, like J.K. Simmons has done several bits of voice work before, and he's just good at everything. Yeah, so that's fine, right? Yeah.
I genuinely like by anyone.
Right?
Sandra Oh could be replaced by anyone.
But
Jason Mantzoukas bitch
like
ass
Walter
should be replaced
by
Walter
Goggins.
Bring fucking
Walter Goggins as
Galifianakis
Cecil,
instead.
right? I think he's good. I think Walter Goggins is a pretty good Cecil, mostly because I fucking hate Cecil, and this man has managed to play Cecil so well that even though I know that I love Walter Goggins, I still fucking hate Cecil, and that's good work. That's excellent voice work. But Mark, outside of the times where he's like yelling or very frustrated, all of his delivery, as much as I love Steven Yeun, it's flat. It's very flat and dry.
I don't even think he's the worst.
He's not. No. He's definitely not the worst. But I only noticed it recently when I was listening to like Debbie whenever she's freaking out about like Oliver like the little purple baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where she's freaking out about Mark's brother and all that, and like the whole situation with Nolan, right? It seems like only whenever they give her lines that have to deal with her showing emotion, she doesn't show emotion. Like you know what I mean? And that's a problem I see across the rest of the cast. A lot of their lines are flat. Like Rudy/Robot, I understand. He's basically been in a tube his whole life. It makes sense he talks that way. Monster Girl, that's Grey Delisle. Grey Delisle can literally say anything, and I will fucking listen to it. She's a phenomenal voice actress, right? She's a Zula, for crying out loud, dude.
Shut up,
right?
you fucking nerd. Grow up. Watch real cinema.
That show ended. Fuck you.
But at the same
Avatar
time,
supremacy, baby.
It just genuinely sucks when you have all these top billing people who I know are phenomenal actors and entertainers in their own right, and you pay them all of this money,
but acting
and you
voice
get
acting
this.
are two different things.
And I feel like that's because they even fucking like the release schedule's already fucking garbage because they paused half of the season to put in ads so that they can make more money to pay the fucking red carpet cast that they have. That's so goddamn stupid.
They lost and they
How do you go?
Their animators.
Also, little note. How do you go
quick
from
on
fucking mid-season break to an immediate fucking cliffhanger? Fuck you.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Not even a
about
good one.
that.
We know they're gonna win. Well, the aliens are gonna take over. Fuck you. Shut up.
Maybe.
Bitch.
Let's talk about what you guys just mentioned real quick. The mid-season break and the time from episode 4 to now. That's from like
5
November or
months.
December until now.
5 months, I think, right?
Something like that. November.
Yep.
Or was it
I
October?
counted.
Something like that. Do you guys think? And I mean, I'm pretty sure I already know the answer to this, but do you guys think that with the break, with them taking this time to do whatever the hell they were doing behind the scenes, do you think this caused Invincible as a show to lose fans during that break?
It lost momentum.
It lost momentum. I don't know if it lost fans.
Yeah. Did you guys remember that Invincible came out on the 14th?
This is actually a funny story. So I originally had been keeping track of any Invincible related news because I'm a crack fiend whore for anything related to this comic, right? I'm sheeple. I embrace it, right? So I was keeping track of the days. And even I thought it was the 13th and not the 14th, right? And then my friends who are YouTubers and cover this shit regularly, right? I reminded them that it was coming out. They forgot.
Yeah.
And some of their Invincible videos are like their biggest cash grabs for their view counts. So if your livelihood is not enough to remind you that a show is coming back,
that's kind of tough.
Maybe a mid-season break was a pretty bad fucking idea.
I think it's gonna it affected it because, like Gerardo had said, it lost momentum. I don't know if it lost fans, but here's the thing: is that when you have a season, it starts off with a boom, then it kind of trickles off, right? So if you have that, you have a lot of viewers because it premieres. A couple of them will stick around. Then if you only have 4 episodes and then you pause for 3 or 4 months, those people aren't going to come back. So Invincible now has to promote the fuck out. Amazon has to promote the fuck out of it, get people back on for episode 6, and it's only going to be only 2 more episodes, and then it's going to trickle off again. Like it's too inconsistent for it to matter or be relative in the pop culture space. Like it's that mixed with the fact that they don't pay their animators, mixed with the fact that the animation is dog shit.
The animation looks like Cory Walker's dog shit artwork. Cory Walker, kill yourself. Fuck you.
Oh my god.
God damn.
So this is I think that's
his fucking arcs not the worst fucking part of rereading Invincible? Having to see that dog shit.
Was that the first illustrator for Invincible?
I think he is. I think it's him and then Ryan Otley, and then it's Corey, and then Ryan Otley.
When
and then
Ryan Otley eventually takes over fully,
and it sours the ending for me so much because it looks like a fucking
everyone
5-year-old
glossy. It looks everyone's like really like glossy. They look yassified almost.
Yassified.
But like if you focus on like more so like the Invincible War, prelude to Viltrumite War, like the Otley era. Beautiful art. Otley does no wrong art. I read an entire run of Spider-Man that I actually did not like because it was Otley art. That is how much I love his art. He drew a picture of Ron Swanson as a Viltrumite, and it is my favorite thing.
That's basically
I fucking love it. Yeah, but well, no.
Oh,
The
Peter
Swanson is a
Cullen.
different
Peter
beast.
Cullen is amazing in this.
Yeah, Peter Cullen, also another fantastic
That's
voice
Optimus.
actor.
Also, don't like how
Prime,
they
bro.
fucked with his
I'm also
character.
gonna be the first person to
That's
say
him.
this. I loved Alan the Alien, and I like Seth Rogen and other things. I don't necessarily like him because
I hate
I'm
him.
now
I
rethinking.
hate him as
I'm
Alan.
thinking of all of his scenes, and he has that same thing of if someone is not yelling or crying or showing an emotion, they don't have emotion.
He has this thing
And,
called
like,
he's not a voice actor, so he doesn't have the skill set
Yeah.
required to be a successful
Yeah.
voice actor.
and that's the thing,
He has
right?
this thing called he plays himself and everything, including this shit.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and that's the thing, right? Like with Invincible,
Even
right?
in The
Every
Boys.
panel, but with a lot of comics, right? Not very many artists are able to do this. Like Tom Taylor is a really good one, I think, of with doing this, as well as Jonathan Hickman, a person whose dick I suck on almost every episode, but I will continue to. But like,
Number one
basically,
Hickman Glazer channel right here.
but basically, Hickman and Taylor are really good at writing natural dialogue, and Kirkman is exceedingly well. He does exceedingly well at writing natural dialogue, especially in a fantastical world like he's built in Invincible or The Walking Dead, right? He makes the dialogue feel natural so you relate to these characters because why?
I've
They
read
talk
Negan's
like
dialogue.
people talk, right? And they've literally ripped whole panels. Like I have gone through and looked at different panels, or I'll just be sitting there and like even watching the first season. I'll be like,
I hate to break it
Leonardo
to you,
snapping at the screen.
no one's gonna sit through an animated show where all they do is talk. I'm telling you that right now.
No.
Well, they barely fucking fight in this dog shit.
I
So
know.
what are we watching?
So imagine if it had less action.
No.
I'd rather have
complaining
less
about the action.
if it still looks like this.
I'm complaining mainly about the voices because I do not understand how you have literally bar for bar, panel for panel, natural dialogue of normal people talking, but then when those normal people talk, it doesn't sound like normal people talking.
Because they're not voice actors. They don't understand what it's
I know, and that's what I'm saying is a big significant problem. I noticed it in bits and pieces in the first season, but I didn't really mind it. And then when it got to the second season, I was like, okay, I'm hearing it a lot more now. And then when the break happened and I had time to digest everything, and then I finally got that little micro boost of serotonin from seeing Invincible on my screen again, it didn't give me as much dopamine because I was like, oh, this dialogue is mad fucking unnatural.
Here's my thing.
This is upsetting.
Before we wrap up and like before we like finish and stuff or move on or whatever, I just want to get like let you know like what it is that my problem with Invincible is, and it's that I think it walks this very thin line of like being like, oh look, we can be a transgressive show that kind of shows you like the realities and the darkness and difficulty of being like a superhero and what that would mean in the real world, while also trying to balance, hey, we're an animated show, so it has very wide appeal, and here's this really and like I feel like they're not fully committed to that. I feel like Robert Kirkman, again, I haven't read the entirety of the Invincible run, but I feel like Robert Kirkman obviously was very aware of what he was doing and was like, this is a satire and this is a commentary on what it would be like to have superheroes in a real world. And I feel like that the show is like, hey, we'll just pussyfoot around that, we'll just kind of dabble it here, because that's what draws me in about it. Like the end of this episode, I was like, yes. I was like, that's good. That's interesting. You're taking ideas that we know and that we're familiar with, kind of as like people who really like pop culture and like superheroes and comics and stuff like that, and you're flipping those on their head, right? And that's very interesting. That's the shit I like. But most of the episode is not that. Most of the episode is paint by numbers. Most of the episode is pretty standard storytelling stuff.
Formulaic,
so formulaic, right? So when they sprinkle in those little parts that aren't formulaic, that are, transgressive is too strong a word, but that are kind of like what's it called? Different, right?
They evolve the genre in a sense.
Exactly. It's very exciting. And if we got more of that, I feel like I'd be like, fuck, this is a great show.
Yeah.
But it falls flat because it's so far and few in between. And it's for the most part, it's very basic and simple and formulaic.
It's definitely a show. At the core of it, I definitely relate to what you're saying, Luis. And it really pains me to say this, loving Invincible and Kirkman's work as much as I do, to where even I can, like, I haven't felt this disillusion since the MCU started going downhill. And I don't care about that as much as I care about Invincible. So to see a show try to do so much to where it takes on more and more and more, to where in the end of trying to do too much, it ends up doing so little.
Yeah.
And then it takes a mid-season break and comes back with somehow even less steam, where I'm seeing more of the cracks. I'm just slowly getting to a point where I'm falling out of love with it, and I'm gonna give it probably the rest of the season. And then if I don't feel any interest in it from there, I'm just not gonna watch it. Because the main two arcs that I think they're building towards right now is I think they're gonna do the arrival of Conquest later on because he doesn't have the black and blue suit yet.
She's
But,
coming.
I'm
She's
Conquest is
coming.
like this.
I'm
You
coming.
know who it is.
Yeah,
I don't
he's
like that.
yeah,
Why are you excited?
yeah,
The knowest
Dr.
will
Phil,
know.
That's
baby.
horrible.
We both
But
coming.
but the main arc that they're building up to is right now with Angstrom Levy and everything is the Invincible War,
Hard.
and it's where the multiversal Invincibles come through and they just wreck
What the fuck? What?
Yeah.
Loki season 3.
All right, let's not talk about that because they haven't read it. So.
Yeah, we haven't read it.
Oh.
That sounds crazy.
What do you mean I haven't
bad.
read
It's
it?
great.
Okay.
They're gonna fuck it up.
They're gonna fuck it up.
They're gonna fuck it up. I have no faith in them.
The
That's
core
so
is
funny.
though with that arc and like further arcs, like the fights that we've seen so far in Invincible are baby in brutality and agility and power set that we compared to what we see later on. And if those are animated the same way that fight on Thraxon was,
With the Viltrumites?
It's gonna fall flat because it's gonna look like shit, and it's gonna detract from how important this part of the story is. Because since we're already talking about it, you just need to know they come and they fuck shit up. All right, and it's supposed to be insane. Like every superhero on the planet is fighting these alternate Invincibles, right? And if they look like fucking Terrence and Phillip, it's gonna fall flat. It's gonna look like shit, and no one's gonna care.
If the quality of the animation isn't as high as the storytelling is, like you said, it's gonna fall flat because the stakes are high, but I can't see it. That's not coming through, right? I can't tell because the voice acting is bad, the animation is bad, so I don't feel the stakes that you're telling me I'm supposed to feel. That you're inferring that I'm supposed to feel.
And what's so frustrating about it is I remember the first episode, what got me hooked on Invincible. I am not as big. I feel like I'm a big fan of Invincible.
You are.
Right?
You love
it.
You are.
I haven't been. I started reading Invincible because I was so hooked after the first season. I was like, I need to read this. What had me hooked on that first episode is the fight between Omni-Man and the Guardians of the Globe, which isn't even a fight in the comics, but that looks great. It's pretty minimal compared to like something like hard. I just watched the Cyberpunk anime again. It looks great. The fights are fucking insane.
Why?
The animation is crazy.
Edge Runners or whatever.
Yeah, Edge Runners. Edge Gooners.
That's me, Edge Gooner.
Edgers.
So the point is, like, it's not quite there, but it looks good. And I feel like we've had a drop, and it's only getting worse. And there's no way it gets better within the next 3 fucking episodes. So what's gonna happen with this Invincible War? It's gonna look like shit. And I am gonna be mad. I'm not gonna watch the 3rd season, bro. Not until like it all comes out.
It's weird too because like even in the first season, right? There were times where the animation was like a little bit wonky, but we're like, it's the first season, first steps.
Yeah, we'll to me, I was like, they'll pick it up. I was like, they'll get their footing.
And then when they have these tremendous, when they have this tremendous scene like where Omni-Man destroys that one planet, right? Where he's like, Earth isn't yours to conquer. That sequence, incredibly animated. Yeah. Even though it's CG, it's still really well put together. I can follow what's going
like
on.
Anime,
right? And then it's that, and then
it was very good.
And then the very last episode where Mark fights Omni-Man, they put in an entire sequence that was not in the comic. The train scene, right? Because if that happened in the comic, Omni-Man would be fucking irredeemable. I'm very intrigued as to how they try to redeem him in this. I'm very fucking fascinated.
I don't care. I forgive him.
But that whole sequence, right? The way you get that shift of perspective, the way that the camera pans around, you get a 360, right? You get multiple angles, all these dynamic shots, and then the slow build of people spattering in the viscera going on Invincible. That is a beautifully animated sequence. So it seems like they save most of their steam for the finale, but if you start out with dog shit, no one's going to want to get to that. No one's going to stay for the finale of the show if the opener and the mid are just terrible.
If the mid is mid.
You know? The mid was
mid is mid.
I agree.
All in
the
all,
mid was mid.
I'm all in all, as an Invincible fan, I'm disappointed, and I'm gonna give this return like a 6.
That's high.
That's high.
Dude.
No, I'm with you. I'll give it a 6.
I'm coping, and I'm giving
like
it a 6.
I'm hating.
Like I said, the high moments are high. They work for me. I haven't read the comics, so I think like the plot twists are like, I'm like, ooh, yes, that's good. Ooh, that's interesting. Yes, that's the playing with normal storytelling and superhero tropes. I like that. So those moments really excite me, and I'm like, I want more of this. But it's everything else. Like forcing myself to have to watch the episode. That's not good. That's not good.
Yeah,
I should be excited to watch it. So I'll give it a 6. Just because
I didn't even make it to the first 10 minutes.
Exactly.
Shit.
So I'm giving it a 6 because, like I said, the moments that work, and when it excites me, it excites me. But for the most part, it's pretty bland and boring.
What's your verdict, bro?
It's low.
Lord Hater.
Unlike Luis, I'm not excited. What I saw like pales in comparison to what could have been, not to what it was.
Yeah.
Not to the comic, because like I understand its adaptation. I'm saying it should be better than the comic. They have the resources. They have
at least
the
an
biggest media fucking conglomerate in the world, and it looks
that is true. Shit. It is Amazon made,
dude. I mean, yeah.
What the fuck?
Rings of Power cost like $1 billion to make one season.
They have the money,
and they're gonna make more of it. Anyway,
the boys.
Oh my god,
it's a fucking like 4.5 for me. It's low.
God,
I don't like
just
it.
digging up Bezos' couch cushions up, bro. Like you can fuck.
I'm not excited. I'm excited
seasons.
for the next episode of X-Men. I'm not excited for this shit.
Yeah.
What Gerardo just said is where I'm at. That's my rating too. 4 because I say 4.
You
or
didn't
5.
even finish the episode.
That's exactly. If you can't get me, like I'm the number one glazer, bro. I'm chief glazer of anything.
Call him
anything
Shipley,
good.
The way he be glazing.
Call me Shipley's the way I be glazing. And like if I like something, I'm hooked. I liked Invincible through season 1, season 2. It started off okay, and then it stopped, and I was like, I don't care. And then we got to the mid-season premiere, and I'm like, I'm really not interested. It doesn't help them that X-Men came out and was just fucking balls to the wall. Good show.
You made a huge mistake watching X-Men first.
Mm-hmm.
If they did a month-long break, I feel like they wouldn't have lost as much steam. If they did a month, I feel like is the biggest you could give them.
Yeah, but instead they let niggas go through Christmas and spring break, and then now no one cares. They let us go through fucking Thanksgiving, bro. I'm full.
I have friends who are like a few weeks away from like graduating because they were doing like just like spring semester shit. And I was like, oh, you had enough time to get a degree before these niggas finished putting in an OxyClean commercial? That's fantastic. That's fucking fantastic.
Dirty mouth, chew it with Orbit gum or whatever the fuck they're gonna throw in there, bro. I don't want to see that shit. I want to see animation, good animation. I want to hear good voice acting. And that's what we're not getting. So Jeff Bezos, Amazon Prime, if you're listening to this episode, I know
Suck
you are.
my dick.
Listen and listen good. Fix this shit, or we moving on. We're moving on from this. So all in all, guys, we're just really hyped to see how the rest of animation goes with X-Men and the future of Marvel animation. I like that banner that they put there too. Marvel animation,
just like superhero stuff in general. We're eating for animation right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And if Invincible can pick it back up, I may change my tune here in a couple of weeks. We'll see.
I hate to break it to you, brother.
I don't think
it's not happening.
We shall see. It's happening.
Real quick before we wrap up, let's do a quick shout out to Backstage OL and the Backstage Experience. David's not here to promo, but shout out Backstage OL. Go ahead and follow them at Backstage OL on social media to stay up to date with all things
in the description.
All things media, all things movies, TV, games, etc. The link is in the description. Yes, it is.
He's been at South by watching movies and shit.
Yeah, David's actually doing real journalism and not scrolling on Wikipedia like I was a minute ago. Checking shit out, reading shit about Invincible.
Hopefully we can have him on to talk about South by and all the cool
Absolutely.
stuff.
Yeah. Another shout out to our very own AZ Tari Singo on Twitter and Twitch. Hit the 1K mark
on YouTube
and YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, all the socials. I got it in the description as well. The Twitch link is also shown on the banner. Go ahead and give him a follow if you like what we're doing here. You'll love what he's got going on his channel.
I'm now a paid YouTube boy, which means I gotta up my corporate shill image.
Let's go. Well,
he means he's gonna start glazing financially.
Being on here is not going to help your corporate image, brother.
That's why this podcast is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
Better help.
Cut me a check.
Crazy. And contracted random people to be fake therapists.
Hell yeah.
No.
They just like
hell yeah.
You guys can catch me at my side gig on BetterHelp.com. Where I'll just tell you, just kill yourself if it's that bad.
I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at worst help.
Don't do that.
You're on Twitter my OnlyFans page. Like drunk Lego builds.
I'm on Twitter at worst help.
Worst help.
Cause chaos. I don't help. I don't solve the problem. I am the problem.
I don't want peace.
I don't want peace.
I want problems always.
Problems always.
I like how this outro is just
do the why you
into
running
this.
Yeah.
That being said, guys,
it's doing a blackface.
That being said, guys, it's another thrilling episode in the books. Huge thanks to everyone who tuned in today. Keep the excitement going by following us on all platforms at Cinestro Core. We've got an epic lineup this year that you don't want to miss. Remember to smash that like and subscribe button to never miss a beat. Go ahead and show us some love and leave us a 5-star review wherever you catch this podcast. And spread the word about our podcast and YouTube channel far and wide. Share it with your friends, family, and your entire network. Your support means the absolute world to us. We love what we're doing. We want to take this to the next step. So until next time, stay awesome, and we'll catch you on the next electrifying episode of the Cinestro Core, baby. Negro supremacy. We out.